We start out on this new road. No turning back. But we have our ancestors with us. We're going to continue to dance with them. Dreaming them. Calling them. Being them. We are becoming what we were.
It is borrowed that Mayan prophecies.
7 triangles of light.
Keep walking. You are the spirit of Unapu. Keep walking. We the human, we are doing the spirit of Unapu.
People who say that the gods made them from corn. They planned their lives according to the heavens. Well versed in astronomy, using a sophisticated mathematics, they calculated the movements of the night sky thousands of years into the past and thousands of years into the future. They knew that the universe moved in cycles. Their lives were ruled by the rhythms of the natural world, planting and harvesting, birth and death, just as the great tree of life emerges from the earth.
Always, they're connected. Science and religion.
In dreams, we learn from the Maya gods when to plant and when to harvest, when to set the fire, and when to do the corn ceremony.
What we're digging up, what we're coming up with is part of our history. And the men that lived here are some of the greatest men we've ever had. And it's the fact that we're getting to know more and more and more about the life of these people.
They still maintain their customs. They still maintain their ways of organizing their societies. And it's very exciting to see how much of the ancient Maya way of life is still alive and well.
Because American history does not begin in 1492 with Columbus. It begins in 200 BC with the first Maya king who wrote his name on a stone. What is happening now is the people who made these places, people like Yashpak or Bird Jaguar or Pakal, are getting back their voices. They are becoming real to us and speaking to the people of the 20th century about who built this place and why and what they felt and what they thought about the world. These are not anonymous people anymore.
You are the spirit of Unapu. Keep walking. We the human, we are doing the spirit of Unapu.
Yo, community, LA natives. Once again,
LA natives.
we are back.
Welcome back, Zero. We took a week off.
It seemed like forever. Like, I feel weird coming back. I feel like I missed doing something.
Yeah, some Hollywood production studio took over the whole building, and unfortunately, we had to cancel all of the podcasts that come out of this production house over here at Underground Hip Hop Blog. But we're all back in full force.
It happens. We live in LA. You know, they pay enough money to people, they'll do whatever. You know.
Our last Wednesday show was pretty dope. We had Product Pistolas.
That was fun. It was fun. I had recorded him before. I knew his crew. And it was cool to talk to him. And he's a pretty smart cat. He knows. You know, it's really cool to meet someone who innately understands our future, right? Is knowing that you can't steal everything. You can steal land, you can steal gold, you can steal riches, but you can't steal the knowledge that's stored in my blood. That knowledge is forever there. It takes a long time to put there, and it was put there in a good way. And Product kind of reminded me of someone who just taps into that, maybe not consciously, but just acts that way. And I think that's the way he gets along, and that's why he's able to be on records like Conejos and shit.
Right. And me, from personal experiences, he's been in the game for so long independently in this underground environment that we call the Los Angeles underground hip hop scene, which is possibly the most brutal scene out there. Am I right, Zero?
In LA, for sure. Because in LA, it's supposed to be innovative. Like, you're supposed to be like, stand out somehow. But when everybody's spitting the same shit, trying to be the same artist, and then they go, oh, wow, I'm going to go out of the box and act like somebody from New York. It's like, fuck, dude. Like, you know, there was really no originality. So here comes tons of other groups that are trying to be original, and they're like, well, you're not industry. You're not marketable. So it is brutal.
And this all ties into our Sunday shows where we bring on hip hop artists that are extremely original in their own way.
That are talented, that have been around for a while, because I've been playing music for 22 years. I mean, El Vuh alone, the history of El Vuh, it's like 19 years, So actually, I've been playing music for more than 22 years. I've been playing music for like 27 years, But you meet a lot of people on the way. And then one time I met Keese, and Keese was from Oklahoma. And he was like the plug for everybody. Like, he knew other people from different, parts of California. Not California, but other parts of the United States, separate from California. And he also mentioned an event that happened once a year. Him and some other people, other brothers that I knew, had mentioned this event called Gathering of the Nations. And at the Gathering of the Nations, we had booked a couple shows, and I met this individual called Defi. So see how long, like, the history of what we've been doing independently, when you bump heads again with an artist who was already on his way, and to see the culture of native, like, it's different. It's not the same as over here. It's not like Chicano rap. It's different.
Yeah, and your eyes lit up when I let you know, hey, look, we're booking Defi. Have you ever heard of him? And you're like, of course I have.
Dude, I played with him in the Gathering of the Nations at this old theater. It was in a packed house. It's like this South by Southwest for natives, but not revolving around like pop culture music. It's revolving around powwow dancing and whatever. Defi will be able to tell us more because I've only been there once.
Yeah.
Or maybe twice.
Yeah.
But I from when I talked to him, when I met him there, he was like, "Nah, dude, this happens all the time. This happens every year. It's like the thing they look forward to." But
yeah.
Yeah.
And he's from New Mexico.
Mexico. That's where the event was, in New Mexico.
I was blessed enough to meet him when he swung by the office for some promotion over here at Underground Hip Hop Blog, and it was definitely a breath of fresh air for me because his style and his originality is like by far some of the dopest material I've ever heard.
He's really talented,
yeah.
and he's put a lot of time in. If he kept doing it since the time I met him, I mean, we wouldn't we didn't correspond with each other, but it was cool to meet him. He was very welcoming. It felt like going to a Chicano something,
Mm-hmm.
It felt like doing something in Los Angeles, but with natives who do. I felt the same experience when I went to Canada. It's the same experience I had in New Mexico, because all the natives, they gather right there. So that's where I met Defi. So that's how I know him.
So I want to appreciate everyone that's been subscribing to our website. We got another handful of subscribers in the last week.
Nice.
Few more merchandise sales, t-shirts and sweaters. Much love and respect to everyone that not only are purchasing our products, but wearing them and tagging us and shouting us out and sending us their comments and their reactions to this content that we deliver to them, Zero. It's amazing, right?
Well, it had to come from a perspective that was ultimately going to defend being indigenous. And I don't mean it in a way that's like protest. I mean it in a way that's like, stop telling me I'm not indigenous. That's what I mean. When people go, whoa, but you're not indigenous. When you stand firm with who you are, then you can meet brothers like Defi who come from New Mexico, and it's family and it's all love. But you have to defend your position. And I think that's what he does with his music, you know, in his way. He defends his position.
And let's go ahead and bring him on.
Yeah, because I think I'm in.
Yo, Defi. Well, we could start. I'm going to ask a question. Just wait for the answer, and then you could just reply, and I'll stay quiet, and we'll try to make it happen that way. But hey, bro, it's nice to see you again. I don't know if you remember me, but we played a show together. I mean, about 15 years ago, maybe. But yeah.
I remember.
Yeah?
Yeah, that was a dope time, man. I really had a good time. I think you came out for, the Gathering of Nations.
Absolutely.
Right there. Sounds perfect now. Sounds good, guys.
Sounds good? Okay,
yeah,
good.
There you go. Yeah, we had Keith had mentioned that there was a Gathering of the Nations that happened every year, and that all these natives would come from different areas and you know, participate in power dancing and different other stuff. But there was an underground hip hop thing that was happening. And I asked Keith, well, get us a show or help us get a show. And that show that we got booked was, you were on that bill. I think you were hosting the event, if I'm not correct. It was a while ago.
That might be the one. Yeah, I think that might have been the Gathering of MCs.
There you go. Damn, you remembered. Oh, that's cool. I was like, is he gonna remember? I don't know if he was gonna remember, because we only met each other once. I know of your music, obviously know of your music. I know of almost all indigenous. Keith put us on the game to everybody outside of like Los Angeles and California. But man, it's so cool to see you. How's it going? Talk about your music, bro.
It's good to see you, bro. I'm doing well. Just coming live here in New Mexico at the band headquarters. I'm also part of a quartet, but it's good to be on the show. Just greetings to all the indigenous people worldwide. I'm a fan of the podcast. I'm also a fan of your music as well. I remember clearly the event and everything, and I remember seeing you live in Rocket. I got inspired, and I think everywhere you guys go, you guys do bring the fire, and like it was dope to hear the music come in that kind of way. And a lot of us in New Mexico didn't get a chance to some of those who didn't get a chance to travel out of the state. You know, it's truly a blessing when cats like y'all come in and grace the stage or mic whenever, because people love it. And there is a hip-hop underground scene in Albuquerque or in New Mexico in general. And there's a big indigenous hip-hop scene too. But that one time a year is like the time to come in. You're right. It's almost like a indigenous South by Southwest, but more like community-oriented and more just grassroots. And this year, I think we might actually do like a virtual version. I'm not too sure, but man, you guys are, whenever things clear up, more than welcome to come out and rock again anytime.
I'm telling you, Armando, we got connections in New Mexico that are just like dope. Because
well, you know, Defi is quite possibly one of my personal connections. You know, best believe Defi, when I land at New Mexico, I'm hitting you up for sure.
Absolutely, bro. Because, you know, Armando's a pretty big promoter out here, and we put on big shows, and he's telling me like, who can we book? Who are these natives? You know, it's like, you know, you obviously know the popular ones like Superman and all the other individuals, but I was like, no, dude, there's an underground that's sick, that's dope. It's like you got Defi, you got Keys, you got
Olmeca,
you got Red Cloud, you got all these other individuals. Like, yeah, and then
Red Cloud,
yeah. I mean, Red Cloud's like known everywhere, especially at the Gathering of the Nations. He's gotten there several times. He talked about it too.
Right. But one thing that I noticed about Defi is that he's quite possibly one of the most consistent artists right now, especially for 2020 and 2021. And that being said, Defi, let's go ahead and talk about your new album.
Yeah, I just dropped a new album a few months ago, just at the very end of 2020. Last year, I released 3 different projects. 2 of them are produced by SoCal artist Ariano, And then the last final one I produced, actually I put out independently, but the beats were produced by Smoke M2D6 and One Below. So like the last album is titled D-Resolution. It's basically all caps, DRZLTN. It basically stands for D-Resolution. It's kind of like a play on the old movie Tron, and then like kind of like thinking about what could D-Resolution mean to somebody who's been on the res their whole life and never seen the movie. To me, that sounds like kind of getting off the res. So I don't know, the cover itself, you see like an indigenized grid. You see myself walking away from the grid, and behind there is the Shiprock Pinnacle, where I'm at in New Mexico. Close by here, there's a Shiprock Pinnacle. It's also a part of a lot of like creation stories and legendary folktale for my tribe. I'm from the Dene Nation.
Oh.
So the album kind of like shows a little bit of like a futuristic look at like a glimpse, but like from like an indigenized lens, so to speak. So the album features a lot of like West Coast artists too as well, such as like Micah 9, Il Mac, Sleep from Old Dominion. A lot of spitters are on this album, so I'm proud of it, and honored that it also got featured on Ugg Blog. Shout out to Ugg Blog. And a couple other outlets, and it's been getting some acclaim. So that album itself helped me sustain through this period of time. And I've been recently putting out a lot of music videos, a lot of new content, thanks to directors Carlos Martinez and Maurice Johnson, who also work with our band known as DDAT. So basically, yeah, the album is out now on all streaming platforms. There's, I think, 5 music videos that we have for it. It's just like 9 songs. And hope everybody checks it out. I'll leave the link in the comments. Just a little bit about it.
I knew one thing when I met Defi, that he was a professional brother. That, I mean, like, he just ran off so many projects right now. and look at him. I mean, I love the setup and the behind you with the drum set, and you know, you're promoting every aspect of what you're doing, brother. And that's a true artist. And the versatility that you're showing, I'm not surprised that people want to work with you in that way.
Well, you know? his catalog is pretty deep, to be honest with you guys. And I want to ask you, Defi, when it comes to incorporating indigenous hip hop into your music, right? Was it off the bat, like album 1? You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, there are a lot of natives and indigenous artists, Mexica artists out there that didn't start on album 1, like El Vuh of Zero. Like Zero started literally album 1 going hard on that topic of indigenous hip hop.
I think for myself personally, I emerged from the battle rap scene first, and I grew up around a lot of b-boys and b-girls. Was fortunate to grow up around a lot of dancers, and at that same time I was also introduced to a little bit more of my traditional roots, and I seen a connection between both cultures. And I think a lot of my best friends at the time were really influenced by hip hop. A lot of us here in the Southwest, we influence a lot from West Coast hip hop, from the South, the East Coast, and you know, basically every other place imagine. So I think at the very beginning though, I've seen the connection between the two cultures that allowed me to kind of like think of myself to be, maybe I could be sort of like a voice for an underrepresented people, or maybe become an artist who can like, how would I say, just like exit the reservation but come back and pay it forward. But I think at the very first beginning, as a battle rapper, just barely learning to how to like eat and get by, I think I seen like the entertainment value in that too. But eventually I got sat down by a few friends and mentors and asked me like, is this what you really want to be remembered by, like from the people? And I stepped back for a moment and realized that, yeah, there's much more that you can apply yourself towards as an artist, and being from an indigenous community too and tribe. I feel like that opened up a lot more opportunities and eventually helped me become more involved with the indigenous peoples movement and a lot of other movements locally. I think it was my auntie though. She was one of the head people organizing this thing called Doda Desert Rock. and they were building a lot of hydraulic fracturing zones out on the reservation near where my grandparents were raised. So I think at that point, when it got closer and closer to my homelands, I felt like maybe I should apply myself and apply my voice, and started to create songs. And I think that's when I took it further than just battle rap, and wanted to like stretch my boundaries and expand more, and not only just for myself, but you know, for others as well, and still rep my tribe. But I think at the very beginnings, I think when I was out and doing some of the battles in certain areas, I might have been the only like native or indigenous person or whatever, like in the building, sort of. I wouldn't say indigenous personally, but you know what I mean though. I'd be like the only tribally affiliated, I guess, individual in certain areas. So I guess at those points, I was very happy and honored to rep for all of us in a way, I guess, in a small way. But yeah, like I think album 1, there's a few songs in there that are actually, that got like a lot of native influence. So I think yeah, I would say overall though, I was definitely down to be considered an MC. I think considered to be like modern day storyteller, so to speak, and just seeing the connections between both traditional and hip hop. I think that was just like the moment where I realized that this is what I wanted to do with my time and energy.
Wow, and that's an amazing way of just blending it together and battling your own emotions, right, Zero?
Well, I mean, when you decide to be a hip hop artist, you have to pick a lane. You know, it's gonna be either skill based. You're gonna go, oh, I'm a dope freestylist. I'm a good battle person. Because even battling is kind of an art form in itself, because you're training yourself to defend yourself against somebody's perception of you, and you're trying to put a perception on them. It's its own art form alone. And then you got individuals who study and feel like they can translate what they study into song. And so there's so many diverse, you know, lanes, and it looks like Defi went from one lane and is now crossing different lanes of hip hop. And when you go into a band, it's not the same. It's not the same as rapping on program beats. It's a person, it's a feel, it's a energy. It's like, you know, when the drummer's hyped up, you can't be like the same. You gotta like, oh, I gotta match my drummer. I gotta match it's a whole nother vibe. So big ups to your talent and your ability to switch lanes, because that creates longevity, in my opinion.
Thank you, man. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Definitely, like, working with a band is like, it's a breathing life force, and I love produced beats too, but it's something else to work with a band. And it did take quite a lot of growing and just working countless hours to try to like be able to work on the music a little bit more, and not just always focus on like the live showcases, I guess. But yeah. And
one thing I want to mention that, and it's a big reason why we even invited you to LA Natives, is that we see a trend in the indigenous hip hop community, and the crowds getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Do you agree with that, Defi?
Yeah, like overall, I'd say yeah, like there's more people turning out. Before the pandemic, I think the crowds definitely grew, and I seen a lot more audience members from different villages or different pueblos. So like out here, we're kind of in Deneta, Tiwa territory, and in Albuquerque, we're surrounded, I think, by like 19 Pueblo villages. And over the past few years, I would see more and more people start to attend. And it was like, yeah, fitness to see all of us together. That's why I have like the most fun being around and performing on the res too, sometimes in the most rural areas where it's all just indigenous or native communities. But I love getting down in the city too.
It's a great experience to go to the reservation and see the love that they have with so little that they have. Because, you're trying to squeeze blood out of a rock over there. There's so little, but they're so connected. I learned so much just by being observing there. And I was lucky enough to experience ceremony on that land. and was able to talk to a very old auntie, and it was a beautiful people that come from so little. But maybe little doesn't mean little. Maybe it means normal. Because we get there's a lot of excess in the city. Excess of whatever you want. If you have the money, you can have whatever you want in any excess. And so when I went to the reservation, it reminded me of going to what they call the cerros of Tijuana, the poor areas of Baja California or Mexico or TJ. And I saw the same thing. I was like, this is the same thing. It's just different currency. Maybe they don't have what they call a reservation, but they definitely clearly have a border where it says that's theirs and poor people live there. That's not what they did with the natives. They made it sound nice. Like, oh, look, this reservation. And then everybody thinks like it's all good there. And it's not.
And like how you always mention, Zero, like the whole foundation of, I guess, the phrase indigenous hip hop comes from, genocide, right? Like being a survivor
of genocide.
Of the, how do you call it?
Colonial imposition.
Exactly.
It's just not, what's happening is that.
And for hip hop fans, people are gravitating to a voice that they could relate to, or, have, same ideas that they could relate to and ultimately become influenced by. Because like when I listen to El Vuh and when I listen to Zero, like off the bat, first record I listened to, You Teach Me Something. And that's what people seek, right, Zero?
They seek connection. They seek truth and honesty, because you can't be dope if you're not truthful and honest. Even when you're in a skill level form of rapping, your limitations and who will fucking tear you a new one. So it's just walking that fine line and understanding just to be humble.
Right.
When you do that, and that's hard to be an MC humble, all humble MC. There's no such thing. It's like you gotta fucking tear somebody's head off or know exactly what you're trying to do lyrically or artistically. So I guess my question to you, Defi, is like, how hard is that to translate these community obligations, right? Because you said that an auntie sat down with you and said, hey, you know what? Or somebody who had influence in your life said, hey, you have a voice now and you're being successful. Now switch it all up and talk about your people and their struggle. How hard was that?
It was actually coming from evidence from dilated people. So when he told me that, like after his shows, I was like, I look up to him so much. He's like a high school hero of mine. So I was immediately like, if you say it, I believe it. And it was also from the guidance of like my family, like my grandfather too, but it was from Evie who said that, who actually was like, is this what you really want to be remembered by? And yeah, after that I sat back and was just like, well, I got to rethink things.
Wow.
And I got to grow more inside, and before I can actually become this person or become a voice, then there was a lot of inner work that had to be done. I had to, of course, work on skills. But it took a lot, and it just like from just like step-by-step processes. But I think translating it was just like, it was instant, because I realized that there's a much more to hip hop than just battle rap, of course. So I just wanted to stretch my boundaries, and eventually took become a part of a band, and just being a part of something much larger than just myself is very fulfilling, and it makes me feel like I'm a part of something. And that's how I've always felt about hip hop, and also my traditional culture. But sometimes when you're not from the res and you come in from the city into the res, they might not see you the same way. So you kind of just gotta try to find a way to fit in sometimes. And hip hop was that outlet, I guess. But it was a quick jump, I think, from going from battle rap to wanting to be more socially conscious with the lyrics, so to speak, or just be more on just be able to rap about anything, not just like about kind of like you were saying, a perception of someone else, or trying to win a battle for monetary gain or things like that. It became more than just like gaining self clout, so to speak, and just wanting to help and pay it forward and give back. And that kind of led me to more opportunities after that point, and realizing that like I'm gonna meet creator halfway and then see where it goes.
But see that's what I was talking about in sense of, as an artist, you have a difficult time writing anything, right? It's not an easy process, right? As good as people think they are, it's not an easy process, because that gets stamped onto a record or onto a mixtape or onto a feature forever. And whether it's good or not, it's there. And if you said a word wrong or you didn't rhyme right, it's there. So to go, I'm a skill-based rapper, now I have to explain a story that I probably don't know the whole story. I just know that I'm a part of this culture, because usually what I've found in artists is that when they're not connected to the culture in the way that we're expected, then they jump ship and they go to another culture, which is the hip hop culture. They explained that to me when I was like studying with like the Nation of Islam and all that stuff, and I still thought I was African, right? I didn't always think I was indigenous because I didn't know. No one had told me yet. And so we tend to go, okay, we're a part of this, right? Because I don't know about this. And then you start learning a little bit, and then you got to go, well, how am I going to write a poem that reflects? Because hip hop doesn't reflect stories that are about creation or inner work, or a lot of being indigenous is working on the inside, kind of like a monk, but not isolating.
And another thing that Defi mentioned is that when you're not from the res, and then you're going into the res with hip hop and that music, right, to get their stamp of approval too. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we talk about that, right, Zero?
Well, the approach that we used to take when we went to reservations was more about we're giving something there. Because they always presented it like we're giving something to some disenfranchised people who have so little. And
because like you always mention, Zero, like you're native, but you don't have the paperwork to prove. And
no, I don't.
You know?
But I don't need it anymore. I come to realize that I never needed it at all. If I relied on paperwork, then I would rely on white supremacy to tell me who I am, and that's not the case, right? I saw that in the Brotherhood with Defi, because he looked at me in a certain way that wasn't, you're not native. What are you doing here? It's like, damn, you're here to rock? All right, cool. El Vuh, oh, cool. What is this about, you know? It was accepting, and that's what I mean. No paper. He didn't go, hey, where's your BIA card? I need to really, really know that you're native. He just accepted me, right? It's the truth.
Go ahead, Defi.
Oh, no. I was just joking. I was like, oh, shoot, we got a CIB. It's just like a certificate of Indian blood. But like, yeah, it's not like that at all. I don't definitely try not to rely all on paperwork either. So, nah, man, like, for real. You guys killed it that day too. It
takes a lot to say that you're native and you come from this lineage, right? That was like, I know. Look, my grandparents ran away into the desert. They ran so far away from the reservations that they ran into the desert, and they're federally unrecognized natives that were lost in the desert. So they're nobody. They're pieces of trash. They're less than the people on the res. So when they came back to civilization, they immediately got swept up and got Christianized. And so they were beaten so bad that even if they said anything close to it, it was like terror, right? And then one day I'm at a concert and I have dreadlocks, and this native comes up to me from the Hopi land, right? Some other native brother who was half something and something. He goes, hey, bro, you're native. You're really, really native. And I was like, what are you talking about, bro? We're African. At the time, I was in a reggae band called Quito Sol, and I didn't really understand that. But when I got into the understanding of what it was, then I started to realize the bullshit of doctrine of discovery and manifest destiny. This is paperwork filed by individuals who had no right to file paperwork because we don't understand paperwork, so we don't understand what you're saying. So if you're in a confused state, you can't say, I don't understand, if you're not communicating properly. That's what I mean when I say I don't need paperwork. Because if I go to Defi, wouldn't you feel weird if I pulled out my shit? Look, bro, for real, dude, I really am native. Right? It'd be like weird. Nobody asked for that.
Yeah, that would be weird. Nobody does that, like, really.
Exactly.
I think.
So then you have to be rooted in what you are. Say it very confidently. Have enough knowledge about it. Be humble, because really at the end of the day, being indigenous is being humble. Look at how humble Defi is. I don't see anything flamboyant about that. This brother is just talent and work ethic. You know, that's all I could say, really.
And Defi, what do we have to look forward to in the summer coming up, or late 2021?
Yeah, I got a new album coming up soon. It's all completely recorded. It's self-produced. Actually, smoked at all the beats, but there's a lot of guest features on there. There's a gathering of MCs, Cypher, featuring some of the artists we talked about. I got an upcoming album with Ariano that we just completed too as well. And with the band project I have, we recorded the album during the pandemic, and it's going to be coming out soon. It's also being produced into a musical, and it's being developed. And right now, basically, it's about a character named Natani, who's basically dealing with some of these things we're talking about right now. This character Natani grows up in the reservation or from a village or from a rural area, has a very dope talent in dancing, discovers hip hop, but his family is also very rooted in traditional culture. So Natani faces this dilemma that a lot of us go through, and still carries on his heritage and travels the world, goes back and pays it forward, long story short, back on his homelands. And the album's called Born in an Odd Time. It's actually being produced and engineered by a 2-time Grammy Award winning producer named John Lindemann. And it's a part of this project too that combines both of us in the Southwest and other artists out in South Africa, excuse me. So it's a combination, a blend of a lot of different sounds. It is indigenous, but it's also world-based, and it has multiple genres that are involved. I love rapping with the band too, because it's not just like rapping on 4/4 time signatures. So this new project kind of stretches my deliveries and my timing and just certain things like that. It's also very conceptual. I never wrote like an album that's based upon just like one kind of thing and follows a specific storyline. So it was challenging in a way. So each song represents a chapter in this character's life and on his journey as an indigenous person living in today. And he goes to New York and basically, and eventually travels to the motherland. It's cool because a lot of these like the imagination, I mean like the content from the album was also from the imagination, but I also experienced being able to go to Africa and travel there myself. And so I gathered a lot of my own experiences and thoughts and just put it into the story format that follows along this character's life named Natani. And I'm not a dancer, but like for being able to rap and kind of convey that message with the storyline, I think it's going to be one of our big projects coming up soon. We actually got some dates set up, so we're moving back towards getting live 4 dates set up on our website and on our band website. If anyone would like to subscribe, you can follow our band at ddatlive.com. It's just ddatlive.com. You can get our first album for free if you subscribe. Also, I'm at defi.com, def-i.com, or just on IG at def_i. You can keep up with all my projects that way, but I'm looking forward to dropping these projects. So I think I'm gonna at least release 2 or 3 projects this year, and most of them will be EPs, a couple of singles, and just focused on like working on more music videos and content like that with Carlos Martinez and Maurice Johnson, plus a few others.
That's wow.
That's impressive. That's well organized. That's making sure that you live off of your music.
Right.
That's dope. Big ups to you, brother. Big ups.
And stories like that, Zero, are motivating us to create our own Spotify playlist for LA natives. We've interviewed so many influential MCs on this podcast. I want to start taking it a step further and creating a Spotify playlist and adding cats like Defi on it.
They deserve it. They're getting to places that is long overdue. I just hope you travel with wisdom and know that don't let people exploit the fact. You know what I mean? Because they feel bad. I'm really coming from a perspective that when you get disrupted in the way you did through a bullshit doctrine, I'm gonna be more in your face. But I'm happy for brothers that get to experience professional movies or plays or get into bands that expand their growth. I just don't want to see one Redbone. Do you know what I'm trying to say, Defi? I'm trying to say, don't be fucking Redbone. No dissing Redbone. I'm just saying, fuck, we don't deserve one native artist every fucking, 30 years or 40 years? There's talented artists. Invest in them. Believe in them. I'm a little different. I'm more abrasive. I come from the root of history that's truthful. So it's going to be different. But I love it when brothers break through, and there has to be a community, and that's what community is. That's the brother that does these type of projects.
Yes.
And I'm the brother that does this type of project. But just because we're not doing the same thing does not mean, and that's what makes this indigenous hip hop movement so diverse from Chicano rap or rap that's just like, like trap rap or any other kind of genre that gets boxed into this little thing. What I want for Defi is not to be Redbone and not to be boxed in, because that's not art. Art is an expression of reality of what's happening in the times of what we're living. That's art. That's why he feels the pressure to put an indigenous storyline to his art, because he's not plastic. He's real, and he's figuring that out. And each professional intention that he does helps him grow and grow. And it seems like you involve the other people in your community, other indigenous rappers, other indigenous producers. I see a solid movement coming from those individuals, and he's a part of it. He's leading the way, or one of the leaders, in my opinion.
Thanks, bro. Thank you, man.
Just by being busy.
And I look up to you too, man. Like, for real, El Vuh is like, I'll always remember like just being inspired the first time I met you guys. So it's like a continuation too. So thank you guys for rocking it all those times, and look forward to more shows again. Because like you're saying, like we may be in a little like different, all of us might be doing something different, but if we come to another gathering of MCs, it's like it's something for everybody there. I think like it's a beautiful part about the indigenous hip hop movement is like, yeah, there's something for everybody there. Like, I think.
When I went to the Gathering of the Nations, I didn't see one act after another of the same thing. You had a skillful rapper who you went, oh, this guy just really studied on his skill. You had another individual that said, oh, he's more of the ghetto kind of like street, LA street scene kind of rapper. It was so diverse. It wasn't just, oh, okay, we're going to hear a bunch of flutes and a bunch of people complaining about how the U.S. took their land. No, it wasn't that. It was its own, it was so diverse. It was just being like at a marketplace for your ears, because someone wasn't going to sound the same. And then here comes El Vuh from LA, where they're expecting like a Snoop Dogg or a fucking Mac 10 kind of sound, and boom, we hit them with, whoa, what the fuck is that? That's ancient Mesoamerican indigenous philosophy, pre-conquest. The philosophies of El Vuh, what we tried to bring back into our community was pre-conquest. How do you get to pre-conquest? Ceremony, prayer, and believing in yourself, and doing it in truth. That's the community we need to build, Defi, and I'm happy to be a part of your community that does that, in my opinion.
You said the eagle and the condor descend from the mesas.
Yeah.
To shit on Mel Gibson, his whole crew's racist.
Yeah.
I think you guys dropped that when after El Apocalypto came out. And I just remember being in the crowd and was like, that's not too many other artists were saying, you know, being in your face and just saying the truth like that, to their truth like that, to just people right in their faces. And it was dope energy, and just the beats were fire. So it was just, maybe someday we could collaborate or something in some way.
Oh man, we're already you're already in home. LA Natives is your home. When you come to Los Angeles, Armando's hooked up, I'm hooked up. You want to get projects done, we know who to go to. And
that would be super dope if Zero you collab with Defi. That would be an amazing track.
I'm kind of shocked that Defi, is offering me that.
And best believe Defi's involved into these events that we're planning on hosting out here for LA Natives, and just inviting all the dope MCs that we've been putting on this show.
Yeah.
He's
just a humble cat. And the one thing that if we do this community, as we grow this community and we grow these artists to be who they're destined to be, what I'm excited about is, obviously we're gonna run through our trials and errors, but the humility. Do you see how humble Defi is? I hope community, LA Natives, you're witnessing a very humble, focused artist. That's what we really need to. Because it's not easy to do this art that he's explaining so easily. Like, oh, I got 4 albums and I'm rocking with this band and I'm challenging my writing. Like, it's like, the way I could describe it is looking at a time lapse of a flower opening up right in front of your eyes. That's Defi. He's explaining his career and the success. I can't wait, bro, because I know your inner journey's not done. I know you still got a long way to go. And when you get that inner journey going and really open the doorways, because I believe Indigenous people and people who are rocking an Indigenous message are just here to open hearts. We're just opening hearts. And if you can accept the open heart with a firm boundary, then we're going to be okay. But I'm excited to be in his community, in Defi's community.
Likewise, too, man. I'm excited and honored to be in your community, too, and look forward to the next time I'm out there on the West Coast in LA.
Oh, yeah.
Would love to link up.
Any plans? Any plans? Anytime soon? Come through?
Thank you, guys.
Do you have any plans of coming to LA anytime soon?
I don't have enough. I don't actually. Oh, sorry, I didn't catch the question.
Oh, okay.
I do have I do have a few upcoming plans, but nothing very soon. I think in May or June or July.
Okay, but not to record or to perform.
Just to probably just to record, and maybe a little. Probably mostly just a video or shoot or something, But I'm always down if there's opportunities. It's not that far.
Absolutely, yeah. He's a plane ride away. He's like living in San Francisco, kind of.
Yeah, I want to make everyone aware that we lost our video feed not too long ago, but I was able to recover it real quick. And to follow Defi on his Instagram, on his Twitter. Best believe I want everyone to subscribe to his YouTube channel. Check out all of his music videos. And from what I know, you're involved in the International Indigenous HipHop Awards, right? Defi?
Was nominated this year for Album of the Year for Deserted Oceans. And that was produced by Ariana. So
much respect.
Anybody would like to go to Indigenous Hip Hop Awards and vote for Defi Album of the Year, Deserted Oceans. And shout out to all the other nominees, and everybody's dope. So there's a lot of talented indigenous hip hop artists that are also on the ballot.
It's starting to become a community. I mean, I know we want to mimic big award shows like MTV or whatever it is that we feel we need to do. Just the fact that everybody's gathering, I'm just so excited about how it felt like gathering other nations, you know? It was a specific thing to natives, and that was beautiful to see and experience. This award show reminds me of that. You know, it reminds me of like a virtual version of this gathering of the nations, but they kind of plucked out and vetted the individuals that are putting work in the community of indigenous hip hop music, or as international, because it's Canada, the US, right? Armando?
Yeah, I'm surprised. Yeah, I'm surprised they hit us up, because I haven't never physically been to Canada, but was surprised that they reached out. And yeah, it's cool to see the unity start to form right here between, you know, our relatives up north and all of us down here closer to like South America and beyond.
Once we,
I think back then it was. Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
what
go.
were you saying?
Go. Finish your thought.
I think back then it wasn't really like before. There wasn't really like enough connection. Maybe just, I don't know. The internet kind of helped in a way, but then you know how it's a whole different discussion. But it's really dope to see the unity there and see more indigenous artists gather like that, and also get like some really notable judges and people involved that I think that are amazing and just legends too. So it's cool to be a part of something that's not just within our inner like circle, but something that's really truly intertribal and makes it like not just indigenous hip hop, but hip hop. I think I love just hip hop in general.
Wow. As you know, we're going to be doing some interviews not in shortly for the International Indigenous Hip Hop Awards. We are so honored to be doing the pregame interviews, right, Zero?
Yeah. I'm excited to. Well, I've already talked to a lot of them, and I'm excited to meet the people that I haven't met, and everybody's been super respectful, and no one's asked me for my BIA card, so it's all good. We're good. We're good to go here, and I'm flabbergasted by the interview, brother, because you're such a well put together artist. You know, I mean, even just looking in the screen now with the drum set behind you, and it's like I'm a part of my band right now, and pointing that project out, because it seems like that one's the dearest one. I know what it's like to rock with the band. Rocking with the band is something on a level that's when you can communicate to other instrument players at the same time, and you're conducting them with your emotion and your voice, and there's coordinated drops or stops, and they lead you back into that ceremony I talked about, you know, when I rocked Mexico City, where it was like 10,000 people, and when you do it with a band, it's so special, bro, and I'm happy for that, because bands bring a different kind of energy than just a program beat. Not that program beats aren't as effective. You got to just work harder when it comes from a program beat. Like, you got to be extra good to make that kind of synergy and energy come from 10 guys or 7 guys rocking on a band. And now you're going to go poetic with someone who hopefully gets the rhythm of a band, because it's not easy. Like, as Defi said, it's not like, okay, give me 16 bars solid, because, you know, what if somebody's late or they're trying to recover? You got to recover with them. You know, do you experience any of that stuff?
A lot of the moments where you're just next to your bandmate and you happen to be just improvising, because just kind of like how it is. I feel like having a composed beat is always just going to be the same versus like having a band. it's never going to be this exact same, and that's kind of one of the beautiful things that stands out about our band too. We're also very jazz influenced, funk and hip hop influenced. So, you know, we as rappers and MCs, we love to freestyle, and jazz players love to improvise. So I'm next to my horn player some of the times, and just like we're just both jamming out. The synergy is there, and some of the most beautiful moments happen in those at those times. But I do love to try to just rehearse and knock out a clean verse too. But if I love to freestyle just as much. I think that's like what makes an MC is like having the ability to not only be a great writer, composer, performer, but also, you know, when those moments happen where you got to recover, you got to be ready, at least be on your toes to think a few steps ahead or a few beats ahead to help you catch on again. And I think that's one of the things that I kind of like, I wouldn't want to say, how should I say? One of the things that could happen is like, yeah, you might just forget one line, and if you're not able to think ahead, it's going to be hard to catch that same pattern and to continue your poem while you miss that line. Sometimes your brain wants to stay on that line, but you're already two lines after because your trumpet player, bass, and percussionist kept going.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like up to you to just find that next mark where it's like a 4-bar, 8-bar, whatever kind of bar mark, so at least you know you're good. And so having some of those dropouts, like you were talking about, very helpful in like catching back on if you make a mistake. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It's not easy to be in a band and catch as an MC. As a singer, it's different because you can elongate words as long as it catches to the next rhythm. But I give it up to MCs that rock with bands, because if you don't have experience working with a band, it could be difficult. And it seems like you're transitioning well. And I understand being in a band, and we're just talking about the technical side of things. We're not talking about the brotherhood that has to develop and the friendships that need to develop, because you can't be rocking with people you don't like and or are annoying you, or perfectionists in certain ways that rub you the wrong way. Believe me, it's all there. But when I hear it in your voice talk about this band, I hear the excitement. So that means that the brotherhood of the band is strong, and that's cool, right? Am I wrong?
You're right. You're absolutely right. That is a huge component of having a band. Is like you got to have the brotherhood or sisterhood, or just, you know, the family, just the values there kind of like extend, and yeah, everybody's different, but like everybody kind of like offers a little something different too to the table. And I look at it like as like, if we're all so different, we're just, you know, adding little pieces to the puzzle or to the table. And it's just cool to be a part of a band that also not is only just like music based, but we have like other avenues and other projects that are within the arts realm that kind of can help us sustain. Because, you know, right now with more than ever, it's been tough for the music industry, or just like being able to sustain as a creative artist is a very, like, it's a different time. So working with everybody is like, and being like brothers and being family is everything right now. And, you know, like even just earlier today, like we had a few little technical issues that normally don't happen, but when they do, it's all good, and just keep it moving, keep pushing. But yeah, man, it's just like, I wouldn't replace it for anything else. Just like, but I love working with DJs too. It's just sometimes as an artist, it's hard to like get the budget for an extra DJ. But if with the band, it's like somehow the musicianship and the extra into being a band can kind of transfer over or translate into a promoter or someone wanting to actually compensate, versus, you know, you might just be rapping with a DJ. Somehow is not taken as seriously, and people will not compensate in the end. That's kind of a tough line there. So having a band is just like amazing in a lot of different ways. Of course, you're dividing up the compensation a little bit, but if it's all for the love, you know, you eventually going to grow and grow, and you'll share like a bigger pie, and versus like, you know what I mean, just wanting a small pie for yourself. It's like now we've got more opportunities together and able to hopefully do this full time soon. So yeah, but transitioning into being a band is such a beautiful process, but there's a lot of working parts involved.
Absolutely. It's
Like you said.
In a way, as you said, when you go out with the DJ and the MC, you have to be extra. Like, you got to have a following that's like beyond what's expected of. Oh yeah, I could bring in 60 people or 80 people or 100 people. No, you got to bring in 500, and we're gonna make you a headliner here at this particular event or this particular venue. But when you do a band, you're right. Somehow, some way, the promoter goes, "Oh, these guys are serious about what they're doing. Let's give them a shot." You know. But then again, you do the math. It's like, okay, if 10 people know 10, if there's 7 people in a band and they all know 10 people, that's 70 people that are gonna go to that show, most likely. And so it just brings so much more advantages, you know. Unfortunately, in some certain situations, it's not like you're playing community centers and shit like that. I know you do your fair share of that, but you're a Turinak. You want to go from good venue, strong house sound, and keep it moving as professional as possible. But, you know, that's not always the case. So, we're having a little tip. Are we still on?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, cool.
So, Defi, before we let you go, is there anything you want to drop? Any shout outs, any little outros you want to give us? And keep in mind, we will be tuning back in because we're going to be doing a quick little 5-minute interview for our brothers over there in Canada.
Okay, with Defi?
Yes.
Oh, okay, cool.
Go ahead, Defi.
Okay, shout out to LA natives.
Nice.
Thank you guys for having me on the podcast. Shout out to all the artists featured on the podcasts. I'm a fan, supportive. Anybody coming through New Mexico, hit us up. We could help out, work with other artists, indigenous, intertribal, anybody. And shout out to the hip hop scene out there on the West Coast. Shout out to UG Blog. And shout out to our relatives up north, Indigenous HipHop Awards. And one more shout out to the band I'm a part of. We're a quartet-based band titled DDAT. If you guys could, check us out. And thank you, Ahead.
Nice. Well, what was the last in your tongue? What did you say?
Ahead was just like thank you. It's just like Denepizad just says thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, because that meant a lot. You know, they're not gonna just come off like that. You know, and thank you so much. I felt that.
Well, you know what? Thank you, Defi, for joining us, man. It's been a great interview, and this won't be the last time you're with us. And I'm looking forward to the International Indigenous Hip Hop Awards, brother.
Yeah, likewise too, man. I look forward to that. And thank you guys again, for real. Much love.
All right. Much love, brother.
Wow, that was another dope interview right there.
Yeah, our people are very talented and as you can see, very professional. You know, they have a clear message and a clear journey out there that they want to prove and be a part of. And Defi is very clearly doing that. As long as everyone that we've interviewed so far, and the brothers and sisters that are going to be a part of the International Hip Hop Music Awards, has been on point. Don't you think, Armando? Like they've been.
Yes, everyone
showed professionalism,
and they just reached out like, "Yo, man, are you guys down to help out doing those interviews?"
Yeah,
and we said, "Why not?"
Yeah, of course.
Because I just think it's such an important event for Indigenous hip hop in general.
It's definitely bringing the right talent to the same eyes, you know, in the same room. You know, when you got Chino XL, Master Ace, I mean, and then everybody else nominated like Snotty Nose, Defi, Dreezus. I mean, this is like starting to become its own little juggernaut monster, and it's international, right? International Hip Hop Music Awards.
Yeah,
it's not just Indigenous Hip Hop Music Awards.
And I'm sorry for all the cats out there that heard like a little slight delay on the live feed. Just, I guess the homie didn't have any earphones, and I guess we were hearing their their playback.
Yeah.
So I always recommend cats wearing earphones for our interviews.
Yeah.
But
also
when
too
I am gonna upload it on YouTube, I'm gonna use the master audio. So the master audio is gonna sound clean. I'm gonna go ahead and splice that up, and then upload it on our YouTube channel.
We're gonna run into technical difficulties because we're doing it independently and free.
We're not NBC. We're not PBS.
Well, we get to voice what we want, and in a very tactful way, in a very respectful way. And there's much to come from LA Natives. So we apologize for the technical difficulties. We apologize that, the camera comes out, shoots, just drops out of nowhere. But that's the rawness of what we're doing. But all in all, the audio gets saved. So you can listen again on Spotify and you don't miss a thing. Because we're here for you guys. We're here to share information, expose artists, and really do our part to promote the International Indigenous HipHop Music Awards.
Which, by the way, you're going to be showcasing your new single.
Global Pandemic.
Yes.
Can't
wait for the official song to come out on Spotify, iTunes, on YouTube, potential music video in the works, right?
Yeah. It's going to be a single that we're going to treat like I treated Doctrine of Discovery, and there's definitely a message behind it, and it's an urgency in this. From what I understand, it's like there's a lot of restrictions that are being proposed that are just mind-blowing. Like, you need to have certain things to cross a border. You can't go outside unless you're fully covered from nose to chin. There's some serious things happening, and I'm not here to say anything negative about it. But if you're not aware of it, wow. It's not so much. A lot of people, I see people get into arguments over things they shouldn't be arguing over. It's common sense. We've been through much worse and less restriction. That's all I'm saying. And so we gather together as community. Excuse me, I had a burp at the same time. And showcase artists that maybe won't be talking specifically about that topic. Maybe they will. But at least give you a sense of oneness with who you truly are, right? A representation of indigenous blood and indigenous lineage.
And I would hope everyone that's tuning in, they do that for themselves too. Be who you are.
Yeah.
Don't let anyone, misguide you or lead you the wrong way. Like, just trust your gut feelings, right, Zero?
Those are the only feelings that exist. Anything else that's trying to describe a gut feeling for you is a manipulation. It's very simple to define, right? But what an interview, bro. That Defi interview, although even with technical difficulties that we had, his message was clear. And he's talented and organized, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Really, and excited about his band.
Yeah. And best believe, Zero, like, I got something cooking for all of us here out in LA when it comes to bringing out all of the dope MCs that we've been interviewing.
Yeah.
I
like, know it. I can see your wheels, turning. It's like, man.
We just need to figure it out. Make sure everyone's happy. Make sure we bring out the crowd that we need to bring out and take advantage of, I guess, what they want to call it, the reopening now. That's like all over the news.
Is it there
now.
yet? It's there?
I guess that keyword is bringing about, right? Like in the media, it's
what the fuck? It was closed. How do you close open air? How do you close? This is what I'm talking about, Armando.
Those are the obstacles I have to face. You know what I'm saying? Because unfortunately, all these venues and all these people who pull the strings out here when it comes to the entertainment business, they just follow the leader. And who's their leader?
You know, it's a wild, wild west over here still. I don't think they know that. It's the wild, wild west over here. Yeah, it may have calmed down, but the business owners that own businesses in Los Angeles aren't very nice, suited up people. They're sometimes very, let's say, not so nice people. And so I don't know how they're going to navigate that. I don't think everybody's included in this grand plan to reopen something that can never be closed. It never was closed. They maybe have told you to stay in your house, but you can't close open air reality or sunset or sunrise or sun. I mean, they can keep you in your house, and maybe you can, if you do not sneak out to see that, then we'll see. You'll start to decipher what state of fear you live in. But all in all, Patreon's coming. We got what, 1,000?
We're well over 1,000 followers right now on Instagram. And keep in mind, we've only been active for three and a half months, and it's been an amazing journey, man. Meeting all the artists that we come across and networking with like-minded individuals, right, Zero, that support the indigenous hip-hop community.
It's almost like we call somebody or we interview someone and they go, it's like we knew them for years, right? Like this was like, they're like Razkaz, like, oh, here's Razkaz, you know, like everybody knows Razkaz in the underground. If you're in the underground hip-hop head, you know them. It's almost like when we interviewed someone like Defi, it's almost like, oh, he's the Razkaz of New Mexico.
Yes,
yeah,
for sure.
Did you know that?
Yeah.
And it's like, boom, the community now instantly knows that, receives him as that, respects him as that.
And LA Natives podcast is in the forefront of propelling that niche, you know, forward.
It's needed. It's a big, humongous market.
Right. And, you know, Zero, you personally have been doing it for well over 20 years now.
I've been blessed. Like, you know, Defi said that he's never been to Canada. I've been to Canada. I've met those natives. And they're the same natives from New Mexico. And the same natives that I met in Mexico. They're just the same. It's the same poverty. It's the same affliction. It's the same sickness. It's the same everything. It's a transnational recognition of genocide. And I'm not going to stop saying that. I'm going to say that every day of this podcast. You are a genocide survivor. Defi is a genocide survivor. Dreezus is a genocide survivor. Snotty Nose Redskin, genocide survivor. Shoot That Scott, genocide survivor. Everyone in the LA Native community and universe and atmosphere, genocide survivor. And I'm not saying that so you can go, where's my check? Or look how bad and feel bad. No, I'm saying feel strong. Use your medicine. Now's the time. The reunification of a transnational indigenous movement, peace movement, common sense movement is well overdue. And if LA Natives has any part with bringing that to fruition through musical events, we can even bring out dope artists and have art gallery events. I mean, it's our turn to be on the board of directors,
right,
for our people.
And have like guys like David Strickland on the board of directors.
Yeah, they deserve that. They did their time, man. It's time for us to gather our resources, live by the seasons, and you can still do that. Oh, well, we live in the city. We can't do that anymore. I do that every spring equinox, every summer solstice. I burn a fire with my family. I send my prayer off. I recognize the shifting of seasons. I don't need a BIA card to do that. I have my own blood. I have my own will. I have my own story. We followed the hummingbird. Our people followed the hummingbird all the way to the Valley of Mexico. Created a city on a lake. and were chosen to hand over all the wisdom they gathered to the great energy called death. And they willingly did that. Spaniards were not smarter than us. Priests were not smarter than us. Liars and thieves could never be smarter than us. We willingly said, it's our time to die. And now we're saying, it's our time to live. We'll see you next Wednesday. LA Natives.
LA Natives.